Hello friends, welcome back. So in this video I'm going to show about a Blazor project, which is my first video from the Blazor project series. The project is a simple to-do list which I'll be using the Blazor server-side technology for building up this small project. So while doing this project, I'll explain the concepts of Blazor, how Blazor works, what exactly Microsoft means by a server-side Blazor technology, and how each components work, how the routing works. Everything I'll be explaining while I'm doing the project. Let's start. First, create the project. I'm using Visual Studio 2019 for creating the project. If you don't have Visual Studio, if you have Visual Code, you can use that one also. Make sure you have a framework 3.0 or latest .NET framework in your system for building up this one. Select Blazor app, click next. Put the selection name and project name as you like. Blazor has got two deployment models. One is called as Blazor server-side model and the other one is a Blazor WebAssembly. Blazor WebAssembly is a client-side deployment model. Other one is a server-side model. This project I'll be doing on Blazor server app. So select that one. The boiler template default project structure is created in the Visual Studio. Before we explore the folders and the files, let me show you the project. So I just selected the Crystal server. If you want to run it on an IIS server, that's fine, but I use internal Crystal server for running the project. Let me run this project and show you what exactly the project looks like. A clean and elegant boiler template project for server side. On the left hand side you have got the menu and the right hand side is the working page. By default it has got three menu, which is the home page. By default it opens. This is the counter page, which is a counter page application. You can click on the button. It's a counter which runs. And the last one, it has got a fetch data. It brings some information about the weather forecast. On the top we have got this project, which doesn't looks to be pretty neat because it comes with the full name of the project. So as a first step, let's change this one. I'm just stopping the project. The name on the top comes from the navigation menu. You go to shared, there's a file called navmenu.razor. Open that one. On the top you can see the name is there. You just change to the name. So let's put ToDo application. Let's run again and see the changes reflecting. Let's explore the files and the folder structure of the default Blazor project. We'll start from the startup.cs. So startup.cs closely matches with the normal .NET Core project, except you see some additional services added in the configuration services, which is add server-side Blazor and add Razor pages. So two things comes into configure services by default. One is the Razor pages and the server-side Blazor into the pipeline. And the other one you can notice is the endpoint difference from a normal .NET Core project. So you can see it calls a page under host. Let's have a look into that file. That page is under pages folder underscore host. Two things are important in this page. One is this is a page where we define the common style sheets or CSS pages, and towards the end of the page you can see a script added, which is known as the Blazor server script. The next page is app.razor. Whenever a user sends a request to the application, in the request pipeline, the request comes first to the app.razor. So what does it do? When a request is received, it checks whether it's a valid route or a not valid route. If it's a valid route, it executes the found tag, and in case of a non-valid route, it goes and executes the not found tag. In both cases, it goes and renders the page called main layout. Main layout is a kind of a master page. It's a kind of a master page defined in the project. So what's the difference? If it's not a valid route, it calls the main layout, but it displays a message, sorry, there is nothing at this address. Now let's look what exactly is there in the main layout file, which I told you it's a kind of a master page. Since it's a master page, it is under a folder called shared, because it's a shared page. So in the main layout, we can see two sections, first div and a second div. Second div you can see @body, which is very close to the ASP.NET Core MVC projects. So this is where the actual page content body gets rendered. But the first div is having a tag called nav menu. So if you notice the application, this is the main layout file, but it's rendering the counter page. On the left hand side you have got the navigation menu, and on the right hand side you see the page. So this is exactly what is there in the main layout. On the left hand side you call a tag called nav menu. So internally when you call the nav menu, it actually calls the nav menu.razor file and renders there. And in the right hand side you see the page is getting rendered. This is because this is where at the body is defined, and this is where the page is getting rendered. So we have gone through two pages. One is the app.razor, which is the first place where the request comes, and we have gone through main layout, which is actually a master page. So coming to the application back, when you click home, it calls the home page. When you click counter, it calls the counter. So how does it call the counter page? You can see in the URL, it calls the counter /counter. So what happens when a user clicks the counter tag or enters /counter? It comes here into the app.razor. It checks whether it can find a proper file in the project. So it will go and checks in the page folder. It can find there is a page called counter. So this is exactly the page is getting displayed there. So let's come back and give a invalid something. So this page is not there, this is not a valid route. If you click this one, it displays a message, sorry, there is nothing at this address. This is what I told you. In the app browser, it goes and executes the non-found tag, but you will see the main layout file. This is because the layout is defined as the main layout. That's why you see in the main layout file itself, this message is coming, sorry, there is nothing at this address. I hope till this much it's clear. Now let's move to pages folder. Under that one you can see the individual pages, or we call it as a component in Blazor. So everything is a component in Blazor. Let's look at the counter component. So the first one is important one. You can see a @page directive followed by in double quotes /counter. This is actually the route of this page. So whenever user hits like localhost 5001 followed /counter, it comes and hits here. So this is a route which is defined here. After this, it's kind of a h tag and paragraph tag which stays the current count, and you have got a button here. On button you can see one click action, and there is a kind of a C# file which is defined inside the @code. I'll explain you everything when I am doing the actual ToDo project, but I'm just giving an example how does it work. So if you come to the counter page, you can see a click me button. So here you can see a click me tag, but here you can see a one click action tag on which it calls something called increment count. So increment count is defined inside the @code, which has a functionality of adding one to that one. So that's why when you click button, it keeps on incrementing because it's calling the method defined inside the code, increment code. So let's see this one first. The route, it's /counter. So in the application we are calling from the navigation button. So let's go and see the navigation page, which is the nav menu. In the nav menu, if you come towards here, you can see a list tag which is the counter, and it exactly calls the extra physical counter. When it calls the counter, it checks for the route in the component, it matches with this one, and the page is getting displayed. I hope it's clear. In the menu, it's calling the extra physical counter, which matches with the route we are defining the page, and that's why it's getting displayed here. Or you can type in the /counter. Okay, before we start the project, I want to show one more thing. So I told you everything is a kind of a components. So if you see the file name, it is known as counter.razor. So anywhere from any page, if you call a counter tag, this component will be rendered. For example, this is the main page. That's a home page. Now we have got a content like hello world and followed by a server link. This is what exactly you see in the index page. If you want to bring the counter component here, you just need to put the counter tag. Make sure it matches exactly with the name of the file. Now let's run the application once again. Now we can see in the main page the counter component has come. Also, if you click the counter, there is another counter is there, but there's no impact between this counter and whatever counter you see in the home page, because both are different components, and when you call that one, it initializes the value to 0. So here you can work. If you go to home page, you can see the counter component is still there. One more thing I'll show you. I had one more counter component here. Since we added 2 tags here, we have got 2 components, you see. So the components will not interact with each other. These are separate components you can work on. So till now I have just given an overview of Blazor application and the folder structure on a high level, how the Blazor works. Now let's move to the project. So first we have to create a file for our ToDo list page. So I'm not creating a page under the pages folder. I'll create one more folder under this one, which I'll name components, because in Blazor everything is a component, so that's why I just given name as the folder name as components. So to create the file, go to add new item and look for razor component. So don't make a mistake like selecting the razor page. So Blazor page is actually a razor component, so you have to look for the razor component and not the razor page. So the extension of the Blazor component is .razor, so select this one, razor component. So you can put the file name, just put as a ToDo and create add. So the file is created. So you have got a h3 tag which says the name of the page. Let it be there. The first thing you have to do is to put a page directive. This is basically the root of the page. I'll just mention as /ToDo. Save this one. So the file is created and we have specified the root required for this page by mentioning @page. Now we have to add a menu for our ToDo page. Go to the shared folder, go to the nav menu, just copy the previous menu item. We'll edit on that one rather than retyping everything back. Just put this one. First you change the name of the icon. I put to ToDo. And if you want to change the icon, go to OI. I'll put calendar. So ToDo is a kind of a calendar. It's a ToDo task list, so that's why I just put calendar. If you see in the class file, we have mentioned OI. OI is a library for bringing the icons. It's an open source library. And the next thing we have to change the href, which is actually defining the root. We have to mention ToDo. Why we have mentioned ToDo? Because we have mentioned inside the page directive, we have mentioned the root as ToDo. If you put the root as ToDo page, we have to change this to ToDo page. So we're just putting as ToDo. That's good. And in the href we also put ToDo, so that will connect to that page. And let's save this one and let's run this one. So our menu item has come and you can see the h3 tag which we have put as ToDo. So far all looks good. One thing I have to mention, like we have created the our component ToDo component inside a folder called components. So even though you have created inside a folder, this doesn't impact anything on the routing. So root depends only on the whatever name you have specifying here in the @ page. Next up, we will create a model class for our ToDo list item. For that one, you have to go to data. We'll create another folder. Which we'll call as models. So that one will create a plain simple class. We'll name as a task model. In fact, ToDo is a kind of a task list which we are going to create, so that's why I just put the name as task model. We add this one. We'll keep two properties. First one we'll call as a task name. Second one we'll keep a boolean one to determine the state whether this task is completed or not. So it's a simple model class which we named as task model with two properties, task name and is complete. So that should be good. So once you are done with the model class, we can come to the ToDo Razor component file. So you can see there's a section @code followed by braces. So whatever you are putting here is the C# code. Above this one, it's actually a HTML code, but if you want to write some C# code in between, you have to put @, then you can put the C# code. Before you start coding, we can import the namespace what we have created for the model class in the imports.razor file using @ So we have created inside the namespace data.models. So save this file. So we have successfully put the namespace of our model class inside the imports. First step, we will create a list item for our ToDo task items. So it will be task model. We'll name it as task list. So this is a list item. In the page, I will be putting a unordered list tag. I will put 2li. I'll explain you why I put in 2li. So the first one is for task completed, and the second one is for task not completed. Okay, so what you have to do is we have to loop through the items in the task list and find out whether this is completed or not completed, and accordingly that entries will be going to the respective li. So we need to put some C# code because we need to use a for loop. So start with @ for each in task list. Open the braces and close here. Okay, so how do we find out whether task is completed? If you remember our model class, we have put a property called is complete. So start with the if loop. In lessons will work. Is complete. If it's complete, put this item into this li, else put into this li. If you want to format, just select this one and go to format selection. Looks neat right now. So we have put a for loop and we have put a respective here. So under li, what you have to show is the task name. So because we are going to write in between a HTML tag, open @ task item, sorry, task name. The same thing, it will come here also. So in summary, we have put a list item and we have opened a li. We are using for loop and here is a condition which checks whether task is completed to put into this one. So we'll save this much. Now we have completed the basic structure of how to display the list item. Next, we need to have something called an edit form to input the task details to our list item. So this is a functionality which is provided by the Blazor. So there's a special tag which is provided by Blazor which is known as edit form. So in edit form, we have to bind a model. So before that, what we need something called an input type of text box to enter the task name, and we need a button. We'll name this as a task. So it's a simple form with one input text box and one button. So now we need to have a model to bind our task item to this edit form. So for that one, we need to create a we'll name it as a task. So it's a object of task model class. So here there's an attribute called model where you have to specify the model type is task, which is the one which we are declared right now. And there's a property called or action property. When you click the button, what exactly has to happen in the edit form? So this is known as on valid submit. So please be careful. There is something called on invalid submit and on valid submit. It's on valid submit. We have to call a method. So this method I have not defined here in this C# class. So I'm going to define that one. So I just put the structure. So on click of submit, it will be calling the add task method. So in the input type, we need to provide the which property of this model class we are going to attribute. So for that one, there's a kind called bind value. So we have binded to the input type task name. So let me explain once again. So for defining the form, we have declared a edit form. The model for this edit form is a type of task model, and on valid submit it will call the add task method. The input type, we have got a bind value property which is the task name. That's it. So let me put some bootstrap Blazor to make it more. It's a form type. It's a form control. Just give me a margin space. And button, we'll provide a class type of btn outline. Primary, we'll give the same margin space. So let's see in action this much. So right now we can see whatever we have put in the edit form. We have got a input box and we have got a add task button. So that's what we have defined. Now let's complete the add task method. So here we just need to add to the list item. Once you add that one, we need to clear the task object. So that's it. So whatever input you are entering here, it will be in the task object, and once you click the submit button, it comes the add task and it's adds to the list item. So I think we should be good. Let's run and see. Let's add some task to see whether it's coming in the list item. Let's say database creation. So it's coming. Okay, the functionality is working. So now we need to beautify the using some bootstrap classes. Let's do that also right now. Stop the application. So let's group. Let me put some margin space, and in the line so let's group item class. I will put one more class, let's group item success. Put some margin space. So same class will copy to the non-completed task item also. Here it's not success, secondary. You put as a secondary class item. One space only. So this is a success one. So what we can do, we can put a delete tag, so it shows a completed one. Looks much better. Next up, we'll write an event for toggling between the task which is completed, and if you want to toggle back from the completed one to the not completed, we can use that event. So what we'll do, we'll write it on the click event of the list item. So coming to the list item, if you put @ you can see a lot of events under this one. So we will choose on click we'll write a anonymous method. It's complete. So on click, it's basically a toggle between complete and not complete status. So same event we have put on both sides. One is for the task completed and task not completed. It's basically toggle between these two. Let's run and see. So whatever items you have seen is not completed one. If you want to make it complete, click on that one, and if you want to bring to the state to the not completed, you can click once again. So we have created the core functionality. Now let's add some more additional functionality like a progress bar to show how many tasks we have completed from the total list. Next up, we'll add a progress bar for our task list. We'll do using Bootstrap progress bar. So to display the progress bar, we need to have a dynamic value, how much percentage we have completed. For that one, we need a property. We need only the getter. In the getter, we'll return the if at least we have got one item in the task list, we'll be returning the percentage completion. Yes. So this will return the percentage completion. Now coming back to the progress bar. So width is a dynamic value, which is basically the percentage completed value. And inside the progress bar, we'll be showing the percentage completion. We'll put a margin. Let's run. Let's add few tasks too. So now we have got an elegant progress bar which shows 33% completed, 100% completed. As a final step, we will make this header name of the to-do list dynamic. I'll tell you why I'm making that one. So this will be a property which we can set it from any other pages which are calling. Since this is a component, when this component is called from some other page, we can set the value from that particular calling page. So to do that one, we need to have a property. Let's put the name as header name. To access the property, need to put a attribute known as parameter. One more thing we do, if the calling page is not providing this property name, we'll put a default. For that one, I'm just overriding the onInitialize method. If header name is empty, we will assign a name by default ToDo. Instead of this one, so now the header name is a dynamic one. If no property is provided from the calling page, it will be putting as ToDo. But if some property value is given from the page, it will be displaying that one. Let's take the index page. We'll remove the default, this one. What we are going to do is like we need to have two to-do list, one for daily task and the other one for the monthly task. So I'm just creating two dev. Great. So this is the tag for the component ToDo component. So you're getting the property which we are set in that one. So we'll put as monthly task. In the home page, we have added the two to-do list, so that's why we are getting daily and monthly one. The other one, what is there as part of the to-do, is already there. So in Blazor we have got everything as components, so we can add the same component, even multiple components in same page which work independently. So that's all for the first project.